Hi, I'm David Weegenaar. Today's date is the 12th of December 2017. Now I'm going to talk about my friend in New Zealand, my chess friend and friend as well. Firstly, I'm going to say that I've got permission to talk about him. Secondly, I'm going to say he's ever ready to talk to me if he's not too busy. So he drops what he's doing for me. I really appreciate him. He's in my best friend category. So I'm not saying that I'm in his best friend category, but this guy just rocks for me. I'm just so rapt to have him as a friend. He's a very strong chess player. His name's Martin Dreyer, FIDE Master Martin Dreyer. So he's also non-judgmental of my circumstances. So that's one thing I really appreciate about him. So here we go. So that's important in friendship, that sometimes we need to be judged, but this is one case where, anyway, here we go. This is against Anthony Miles, Grandmaster Anthony Miles, who has departed this earth, sadly, from England. Now, what happens now is Grandmaster Miles enters into his kind of Owen's defence with b6, which Martin probably, without getting comment from him, realised was a very big possibility. Bishop d3. So we're already meeting the threat of bishop b7 coming about now. So white can sort of relax. They don't have to defend this pawn all of a sudden upon it being threatened by the bishop on b7. So knight f3, c5, a lunge in the centre, c3, support of that lunge against it. Now comes a direct attack by black's knight on f6 to the pawn on e4, which is now being attacked twice and only defended once. So Martin plays a move that I would consider quite natural to play, queen e2, bishop e7. Tony is, or Anthony is completing his development, of course, and here Martin castles, of course. Knight c6, no threat to the pawn on d4. Now comes e5. This allows the knight to go to d5. Now Martin takes the tension away. In my opinion, white is relieving the tension of this pawn on d4, because I've spoken about this otherwise in other sessions. Otherwise, white has to keep an eye on this d4 pawn, that it doesn't get eaten for free. So Martin relieves the tension in the centre with the d4 capture on c5. That's my opinion, of course. Now he plays b4, as he played before another time. Bishop e7 and a3. This is supporting the pawn on b4 twice, and that becomes obvious why Martin played this move shortly hereafter. d6, and now comes c4. So if Martin hadn't played a3, then black would have, of course, knight b4, with the knight on d5 takes the pawn on b4, but doesn't really want to do that now because it involves piece sacrifice. Knight c7. So Martin's just continually, in my opinion, I'm not saying this is how it is for him, he is continually relieving any tension that's going to bother his process of thought. Queen d6, bishop b2. Now comes bishop f6, knight c3, castles, attacking the bishop on d3 twice, of course. So Martin defends it, and now it would be futile for black to take this bishop with the queen, because it's rook takes, not queen takes. Rook takes, even though queen takes still wins material for white. Queen f4. Now it gets a wee bit kind of murky now. Bishop e4, this position, because things can happen. Knight d4. Knight d4. Bishop d4, pretty kind of sensible for both sides, but black has to warn white here that there are some things happening that are being threatened. Namely, this move here is threatened. Now let's just play a dummy move, okay? Let's just play like a4, okay? We'll go new variation. Now black would have this move now. Or would they? No, they wouldn't. Okay, I'm sorry, that's a mistake. They don't because of queen f2. I thought that now bishop takes, but of course the queen is in limbo. So that's a bit of false analysis from my point of view. So I'm glad I'm not playing this game. Martin played g3 anyway. So let's get back to the ball game. Queen e5. Now Martin could just go bishop b7 here and check and take the queen and swap off queens and that sort of thing, but what Martin plays here is quite an amazing move really. He plays rook d4, and so this is quite a pretty crazy cool tactical flurry of moves to play, playing rook d4 against a grandmaster who's obviously threatening here bishop c3, taking the knight. So Martin takes this bishop on d4, and a bit of fireworks really, quite cool. Bishop b7, just keeping some things to sensible. Knight d5, you see. Now, where does the queen go? If anywhere. So where does the queen go? Nowhere. So Tony takes the bishop on b2. So that's really quite a cool combination. So Martin gets a queen for a rook and a piece. And this game, if you wish to see it, is on the chess games of Martin P. Dreyer, D-R-E-Y-E-R, FIDE Master of course. So you can find this game with Martin playing the white pieces at the chess site, chess games of ... of his name. Rook d1, rook d5, the safe way to take it, but I'm not saying there's a science to it. Rook d5, queen d4, threatening the knight of course, so black defends it. Now the resulting moves I'm going to play quickly, but remember this is Grandmaster, not a simultaneous display but a Grandmaster, and that's where it was drawn. I hope you enjoyed that game. Now I'm just going to, for those who wish to hear, give some of his results herewith for that tournament. And like I said yesterday in the description for my channel, Martin has represented New Zealand in the Chess Olympiad at 3 occasions, and he has won the New Zealand Chess Open Championships in 1992 and 96. But in this tournament, if I just had one draw with Anthony Miles and the rest losses, I wouldn't care, because to draw with this guy is phenomenal. So anyway, his other results were, and you can see this on the timetable, a draw with Miles, lost to Rogers, lost to Martin, lost to Levy, draw with number 5, number 6, lost to his next opponent, and so on. So he ended up with 3 points, equal with another New Zealand Master. So there we have it. I'm really proud of him doing that, and he's a phenomenal opponent, very strong. And I've got my own memory of, I had a game with him in the reserve championships. He tells me exactly what round it was. I think it was round 11, and he said to me, "Do you remember that game we had? We played each other this day, blah blah blah." And I was going, "No, who are you?" Well, we played each other then. And so, but the thing is in that game, I had just got up from the board. I was white. I had just got up from the board, and a friend of mine said, "David, do you realise you're a piece down?" And I went back to my board and I had a look at the game, the position at hand, and I looked at it, and to my dismay, my friend was correct. So that wasn't my opponent, and so I resigned on the spot because I was playing Martin Dreyer. Anyway, that's the end of my session, 12 minutes long.